So in the last class, I think we were covering the sectors of economy, right? So we'll start with the last part, that is categorization of sectors into organized and unorganized. So right, categorization of sectors into organized and unorganized. But before that, I think I had asked you to get the newspaper. Have you got the newspaper? Everyone? Okay. Just open the text and context page. Text and context page. Okay. Can you see in the text and context page, there's a term which is mentioned. The term which is mentioned is Goldilocks, right? So let's understand what exactly is this term Goldilocks. In your UPSC prelims, you may get a question something like this. Goldilocks zone, sometimes seen in news, refers to. So for these kind of questions, you need to know what exactly is Goldilocks. Okay. Generally, if you want to know the health of the economy, there are certain indicators. By looking at the indicators, we can know whether the economy is doing good or bad. One indicator is inflation. Inflation basically tells us by what extent the prices of goods and services are increasing. The second parameter is GDP growth rate, by how much our GDP is increasing. Then you can also look at the extent of employment in a particular country. If you look at these 3 to 4 parameters, and if you think that these 3 to 4 parameters are considered to be healthy, good, it means either the inflation rate is moderate, if the GDP growth rate is good, and if people are finding employment, if unemployment has got reduced, if these 3 to 4 parameters are considered to be in a good condition, then we say that a economy is in the Goldilocks zone. So in other words, Goldilocks zone means we say that there is no problem before the economy. Economy is going to grow at a very fast pace. Samaya, read the last para. Last para. There is a heading before the last. वहाँ पे heading लिखा है कुछ? हाँ? हाँ. Complicating the Goldilocks. Can you see in that word, complicating the Goldilocks, they have mentioned some concerns. What are the concerns which have been mentioned? Number one, I think the first concern which has been mentioned is with respect to food inflation. Second is with respect to the inequality in India is increasing. I hope that is also mentioned. Richer people are becoming richer, poor people are becoming more poorer, right? And the third one, what else is mentioned? The wages in India have remained stagnant. So on one hand, inflation, GDP, employment, they seem to be positive, good. But the problems before us are the wages have remained stagnant, inequalities increasing, and we might face a food inflation. Even though not facing it now, but we might face it in future. Is that clear, everyone? From your prelims examination, just know the term Goldilocks. In our current affairs class, we'll take a deep dive into this topic. Don't worry about it. Okay? Next, in that article itself, I think second or third para, there is a term mentioned with respect to inflation. No, not Gini coefficient, there's something else with respect to inflation. I think it should be Consumer Food Price Index. Is it mentioned there? Consumer Food Price Index is mentioned. Just after that, there are two types of inflation which is mentioned there. Headline and, are these two terms mentioned? Headline inflation and core inflation. Is it there or not? You got it? So as of now, it's too early for me to get into this topic, headline and core. What you can do in the book at the last, you can just mention these terms, headline inflation and core inflation. Just write these terms, headline and core inflation, and we'll come to this later. Headline and core inflation. Okay. Go to business page now. On the business page, you'll come across one particular article which says that AU Small Finance Bank has been converted into a universal bank. Quickly. We have one category of bank called as small finance bank, and there is another category of bank called as universal bank. Universal bank has no restriction on accepting deposits or giving out loans. They don't have any restriction on accepting deposits. They can accept how much deposits they want, and they can give how much ever loans they want. When it comes to small finance bank, for the small finance bank, there is no restriction on acceptance of deposits. But there is a restriction on the giving of loans. That restriction is at least 50% of loans should be below rupees 25 lakhs. समझ आया? Most of the loans which they are giving, can I say they are small value loans below rupees 25 lakh? That is why, because they are giving small value loans, why are they called? That is the reason they are called as small finance bank. Example of that? Example of small finance bank? Have you heard of any small finance bank? हेमंत? क्योंकि आज न्यूज़पेपर में एयू है उसलिए. हाँ वैशाली, you don't know any small finance bank? हाँ शिवा, no idea about small finance bank? Okay, have you heard of this bank? उज्जीवन. चलो ठीक है. उत्कर्ष? नो? चलो ठीक है. एयू? ये तो सुना होगा बिकॉज आज के पेपर में है. चलो थैंक यू. So all of these are small finance bank. The universal banks are the banks that you normally interact with. Like all the big banks that you interact with, like SBI, ICICI, HDFC, all of this are universal bank. Read that article. After how many years? After 11 years, RBI has issued license for universal banks. Okay, last time, because we are in 2025, last time in 2014, RBI issued licenses to two banks, two universal banks. Any idea which were these two banks? उसके बाद पहली बार they have issued licenses to this AU. Good. So last time the license were issued to Bandhan and IDFC. Is it mentioned in the article? Mentioned है? अच्छा चलो ठीक है. Apart from that, but this is the first time. This is the first time that a small finance bank has become a universal bank. Okay? They were actually microfinance institutions. Small finance bank was introduced only in the year 2016-17. Before that, we did not had a small finance bank. Ishpreet, which article are, which, sir, can you tell the article name again? Business page, there's an article. Can you read the title of the article? AU Small Finance Bank transitions to Universal Bank. It's Delhi edition, right? Is this clear? Okay. Apart from that, there's another article related to US that President Donald Trump has decided to impose additional tariffs on India. If I get into this topic, it will take me 1 hour. So I have reserved this topic for the current affairs class. So as of now, just know that something is going on between India and Trump administration, something related to tariffs. We'll discuss in detail about the issue in the current affairs class. So far, so clear, everyone? Chalo. So we'll get back to our foundation class. Okay. All of you have heard that sectors in India can be categorized into organized sector and unorganized sector. On what basis do you think a particular sector is called as organized or unorganized? Anyone? Based on whether it is? Okay, so you mean to say this Kirana store is there. This Kirana store guy has to take the permission from MCD. It is regulated. So is that part of organized sector then? Huh. he will be part of the formal sector. Okay. Anyone else? Vaishali, you're saying something. Based upon what? Strength. Good. But how much should be the strength to be categorized as an organized sector? Somebody you're saying something. More than 10. Okay. Good. You read somewhere? Okay. In different sources, different definitions have been given for what is organized and what is unorganized. And all the sources say different things. Like he says that whether it is registered or not. Vaishali says it depends upon the number of people. Different source will say different things, but you have to go by what the economic survey says. That's really very important. As per economic survey, one particular enterprise can be considered as organized, provided it is employing 10 or more people. If an enterprise is having 10 or more people, it is what? Organized. It does not really matter whether it is registered or not. It all depends upon how many people it has. If it is having less than 10 people, it is unorganized. I hope you understood. Example, like you have a nearby Kirana store. Usually in the Kirana store, you'll find only the shopkeeper, or at most, to help the shopkeeper, you'll have 1 or 2 people. So that particular Kirana store will be considered to be part of unorganized sector. But let's say you go to Vishal Mega Mart. In Vishal Mega Mart, there will be more than 10 people. So Vishal Mega Mart will be considered as part of organized sector. Let's say there's a farmer who is doing farming. He's working alone. He's self-employed. Similarly, you have a fruit vendor, a vegetable vendor, or a tea vendor. All of them are working singly, self-employed. All of them will be part of unorganized sector. But let's say there is a food processing industry, something like Kisan Jam. In that food processing industry, there will be almost more than 10 people. So that food processing industry will be considered as part of the organized sector. But is it always necessary that food processing industry will be part of organized sector? Not necessarily. Like there could be a cottage-based industry, household industry, which is into manufacturing of papad, pickle, which might be employing just 4 to 5 people. That will be part of unorganized sector. How do you differentiate organized and unorganized? Purely based upon the number of people employed. That's it. समझ में आया सबको? Where do you think majority of people in India are employed in? Are they employed in organized sector or are they employed in unorganized sector? Organized? Huh. Aditya, what do you think? Organized. Okay, in yesterday's class, we discussed what is the percentage of people employed in different sector. Where are the majority of people employed in India? What percentage of people? 46%. So now tell me, where are the majority of people employed? Organized sector or unorganized sector? You got your answer? Agriculture is completely unorganized, na? 46% of workforce is in agriculture. So obviously, majority of people are working in the unorganized sector. समझ में आया? When we say sector can be categorized into organized and unorganized. But when you see workers, please see this, unorganized and organized. Just have a look. But when you see, so enterprise can be organized or unorganized. But worker can be considered as either a formal worker or informal worker. This is the official definition. But understand, these two things, we can use it interchangeably. Like enterprise can also be considered as formal and informal. Workers can also be categorized as organized and unorganized. The meaning is same, but officially speaking, enterprise is always categorized as organized and unorganized, and people, workers, are categorized as formal and informal. Who is a formal worker? Formal worker is someone who has income security. When I say income security, means a person is earning regular wages every month. The amount of money that he earns, that is fixed. Every month he'll get some salary. Income security. Second, this person has a job security. Job security means this person is working as an employee of the company. Because he's working as an employee of the company, he is a kind of permanent employee of the company. Have you heard of something called as contractual workers? Contractual workers, they can be fired after the end of their contract. They are not permanent employees. Third thing is, formal sector worker will have access to social security. What is social security? Social security could mean like they have access to insurance, or they have access to pension. Is that clear? Like government servants. If you join government, what will happen is you will be contributing some amount of your salary. Government will also contribute some amount of your salary to your pension. Upon your retirement, you will be able to get your pension. Getting this point? Similarly, if you are in the government service, you'll have access to insurance, like health insurance. You can easily avail the insurance benefits. So, formal worker is one who has income security. The amount of wages he gets is fixed. He has job security. And third, they'll have social security. A person who does not has these things, like a person does not has income security. When I say income security, means 1 month the person could earn something like 10,000. Next month he could earn something like just 2,000. The amount of money that he is earning is not fixed. Does he has income security? No, the income can vary. Second, he does not have any job security. If you think of people working under MG Narega, उनका कोई job security होता है क्या? In fact, it is not even considered as a job also. It's like a work. They do not have social security benefits. Clear? Have you heard of something called as gig workers? भरत क्या होते हैं gig workers? वरुण? हाँ, basically they are working on a contractual basis. Like they're not permanent employees. Like you have the delivery partners for Swiggy, Zomato, Blinkit, then the Uber drivers, Ola drivers, or you have heard about this company, Urban Company. So you can order some technicians to come to your house to repair AC, fridge, TVs, and so on. What are these people? They are called as gig workers. What are gig workers? Formal or informal workers? They are informal workers because they do not have any kind of job security, income security. So we'll call them as informal. समझ में आया? Everyone? No doubts? Okay. Please understand, that the workers that I spoke of, formal and informal worker, the formal and informal worker, you'll find them in the unorganized sector also, and you'll find them in the organized sector also. Let's concentrate on the organized sector. Best example, think very carefully. Let's say Zomato. In Zomato, what is exactly Zomato? Zomato is an online platform, e-commerce platform. To run and manage this e-commerce platform, Zomato may be having some employees of its own. To those employees, Zomato is paying regular salary. To those employees, Zomato is paying the social security benefits like insurance and pension. These are usually the white collared people. White collared people means the people who are on the job. They're doing the coding and all those things. All of these people within the organized sector, like Zomato, which workers will they be called as formal workers? But the delivery partners of Zomato will be informal workers. Foxconn company, you know. Foxconn company is the one which manufactures the iPhone. When Foxconn company, you have managers who are having the job security, income security, and social security benefits. These people will be formal workers. But Foxconn company can also hire contractual engineers also. Contractual engineers, they do not have job security. They do not have social security. So contractual engineers working in Foxconn company will be considered as what? Informal. These days, government, you must be knowing, is hiring number of doctors, nurses on a contractual basis. What are these doctors and nurses working on a contractual basis? Informal. समझ में आया सबको? Same logic, even in the unorganized sector also, you'll come across formal workers and informal workers. But take a guess. Within unorganized sector, whose share do you think will be higher? Obviously, that is quite logical. Na? Within the unorganized sector, the majority of the share would be informal. कितना हो सकता है? Informal. 60-70%? Can you see? What is the percentage of the informal workers in the unorganized sector? 98.2%. And just 1.8% of people are actually formal workers. Who could be these formal workers? Let me just give you one or two examples. Okay? Let's say there is a industry which is into manufacturing of khadi clothes. Handloom ka industry hai. It is hiring less than 10 people. Because it is hiring less than 10 people, which sector will it be part of? Unorganized sector. Out of those 10 people, one person could be manager. And that person who is manager must be employed in that industry since last 10 to 15 years. To such people, the enterprise may be providing them with fixed wages every month. It may be providing them with social security benefits. So that manager will be considered as what? Formal worker. Similarly, agar cracker industry hai, household industry hai, in that cracker industry, there's a person who's getting social security benefits. He has job security. Then that person will be called as part of formal work. If you see that side, within the organized sector, whose share do you think is higher? Shiva? Whose share is higher? Within the organized, formal or informal? Formal? Parth, right? Formal? Informal? You're changing your stance so early? Okay. Just see this. Whose share is higher? Formal workers. 53% of the employment. 47% of employment are informal. Clear? So just look at the top. Between the organized and unorganized sector, where are the majority of people employed? They are majorly employed in the unorganized sector. They constitute almost 82% of the employment. Only 18% of people are employed in the organized sector. This is one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is, out of every 100 people that you find in India, what percentage are formal workers and what percentage are informal workers? What do you think? What is the percentage of informal workers in India? यहाँ पे I have showed you informal workers in the unorganized sector and informal workers in the organized sector. I am saying throughout India, both organized and unorganized combined percentage. 90. Good. It is somewhere around 90%. 90% are informal workers and only 10% are formal workers. Is everyone clear with this? This table is not important, but just have a look at this table. This table shows a number. It's not percentage. Do not get confused. What is it? It's a number. It's not in percentage. Like when I'm saying total is 47 crore people. It's not 47%. Do not confuse that. But this is just for understanding, not important. What is important is this top thing. So quickly take this down. Good sounding. Where is he? Missing the class today? कल ही बोला था मैंने ऑफलाइन से ऑनलाइन कभी शिफ्ट मत होना. Where is he? What's his name? Done, everyone? Aditya, done? Bharat? Okay. Please have a look at this question. Okay, do not get confused. GVA is nothing but GDP. Just change it to GDP. Don't worry about it. Bharat? The share of agriculture sector to India's GDP has gradually decreased in the last decade. Has it decreased or has it remained constant? It has remained constant. Good. Share of services sector is more than 50%. It is right. Trade, hotel and communication accounts for the largest share. It is not. Which sector? Financial, real estate and professional services account for the largest share. Right. After you made the diagram, no? Uske baad, please write a note after this. The definition of unorganized worker, after the diagram that you made from here, right? Under that, write a note. The definition of unorganized worker is mentioned. The definition of unorganized worker is mentioned in the unorganized workers is mentioned in the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act. Is mentioned in the Unorganized Social Security Act. Okay, generally, like I said, unorganized and informal, we tend to use the two terms interchangeably. So its definition is mentioned in the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act. So, right, these are the workers. These are the workers who do not enjoy job security, income security, or social security benefits. Or social security benefits. Okay. So coming to the last one, you could see here, this is a question. Practice MCQ number 6. Presently, there is no legal definition of unorganized worker in India. This is wrong because it is mentioned. Unorganized workers include only those workers who are working in the unregistered enterprises. It is false. All the workers in the unorganized sector are always considered as informal workers. Within the unorganized, we can have even the formal sector workers. So right answer in this particular case, because it says how many are incorrect. So all the 3 are incorrect. Okay? So let's move to the next chapter. We are done with this chapter now. We'll move to the next chapter. The next chapter is Reserve Bank of India, RBI. Okay, so before I start with the chapter of RBI, let me first show you the importance of RBI for the prelims examination. That is, how many questions have been asked from RBI in the last 10 to 15 years. And not just how many questions, we'll also quickly have a look at from where are the questions also asked. These are the two things that I'm going to show you. Okay, you can see the breakup here. This is a year-wise breakup of how many questions are asked from the chapter of RBI. Concentrate in the last 5 years. You had 3 questions, 2 questions, 1, 1, 1. Which means every year we may expect at least 1 question on the chapter of RBI. At least 1 question. That is why it is important. You might think that just 1 question, is it important enough? Obviously, it is important enough, because from economy you get 18 questions, and answering even 1 question can actually make or break your UPSC journey. Understand that. That's reason number 1 why it is important. Reason number 2, in the chapter of RBI, I will help you build that foundation in banking. Whatever you study in the chapter of RBI, that will help you to understand other chapters like inflation, monetary policy, rupee appreciation and depreciation, all of that you'll understand later. So the foundation to understand the entire theme of banking and finance lies on the chapter of RBI. Even though not directly so much important, it becomes indirectly quite important. समझ में आया? Within the chapter of RBI, from where are the majority of the questions asked? It is being said, repeatedly you'll keep hearing this, कि you have to analyze PYQs. Why? Why should we analyze PYQs? What's the reason? Anyone? Trend analysis से क्या पता चलेगा? Go on. Basically, why we say analyze the PYQs is because by analyzing PYQs, you'll get to know what kind of questions have been asked in the previous year prelims, what questions we can expect in the upcoming prelims examination. And if you are thinking कि PYQs करने से the same PYQ will get repeated, वो बचपन में होता था स्कूल पे, अभी ऐसा कभी नहीं होगा in UPSC, understand that. So it is that by analyzing PYQ, you can identify the important topics. In next 5 minutes, I'll prove you कि how you can identify important topics just by analyzing the PYQs. I will not tell the important topics. In fact, each one of you will tell me that this topic is important for the chapter of RBI. Majority of the questions, can you see, blue color shows questions being asked from role of RBI. Red one shows the current developments related to RBI. Majority of questions are being asked from what part of RBI? The static part, the core part of RBI. From the core part, from where are the questions asked? Can you see? 1, 2, 3, 4. All of you. Please carefully spend time on each and every question. This is role of RBI as bankers bank. Role of RBI as a lender of last resort. Role of RBI as a regulator. Role of RBI as a debt manager. Same. Role of RBI as a debt manager. Once again, development role of RBI. Development role of RBI. I am showing you once again. देखा सारा सब कुछ? You have seen all the questions? You have identified from which aspect of the RBI questions have been asked? Okay. Okay. Now this is the role of RBI. Obviously, we'll be covering in detail. Don't worry. But please help me identify from these 8 roles on which roles has UPSC already asked a question. Just take your time, 30 seconds, everyone. Out of these 8 roles, on which of this already UPSC has asked a question? Parth, which all question? RBI's role as a debt manager. How many times question has been asked? Twice. Good. Then, Ashu? Foreign exchange उतना अभी तक आया नहीं है. Indirectly आया. Question directly on lender of last resort. Shiva? It has asked a question on bankers to bank. Soumya? All the points have been taken. एक क्वेश्चन ये भी था ना विद रेस्पेक्ट टू रेगुलेशन ऑफ बैंक्स, ये भी तो क्वेश्चन था, है ना? सो you can see here question have been asked with respect to regulation of banks, lender of last resort, banker to banks, and debt manager. Now tell me, for next year prelims, what topic is important? Huh, Varun? Huh, sorry? Maybe the remaining topics. Which is that remaining topic? That is what I'm asking. Role of RBI in printing bank notes. This topic becomes important. This topic becomes important. Payment and settlement system. This can be asked once again. Or banker to government. Did you all get the point? This is what is, we call it as analyzing PYQs. If you randomly, blindly analyze PYQ, it's not going to help you at all. Understand? You should analyze PYQ in such a manner that you have to observe a trend in the PYQs. You should see on what are the majority questions asked. Based upon that, you should have a knack to identify which topics are important for your upcoming prelims examination. Okay. So, apart from this, I don't know, it's taking so much time. Okay. You could also see the questions on the current developments also. These are the questions on the current developments. Like this question in 2021 was asked in the backdrop of resignation of RBI governor. If you read the statement, all of these statements, you might think that these statements are static. Yes, they are static, but inspired from what? Current affairs. Same way, in 2018, we had this question of what exactly do we mean by legal tender money. It was asked in the context of demonetization. Because if you have read the notification of the government, government declared that rupees 500 and 1000 rupee note will no longer be considered as a legal tender. That was a statement made in 2016, demonetization, right? Same way, you had this question on inflation index bond, which was in news. Or very rarely does UPSC repeat a topic, very rarely. But can you see a topic has got repeated here? Central bank digital currency and central bank digital currency twice. So, and this time, prelims 2025, we had this question, which of the following are the sources of income for the RBI? So, we are going to discuss now, number one, the list of topics that I will be covering. So, this is what I will be covering. This is your static part, the conceptual part related to RBI. Once I cover all the static part about RBI, we will be getting into the current developments related to RBI. So quickly take this down, the list of topics. Quickly write it down. Yes, everyone is done? Huh. Okay, anyway, I'll be sharing the PPT. Once I share the PPT, can take it on from there. At least the static part you have written down. No? Just leave some space for current developments. So what we'll do here, the first topic which is mentioned here is evolution of RBI. Now, what I will do before starting with the evolution of RBI, I will start with the most basic thing. The basic thing here is what is the difference between a central bank and a commercial bank. This is the most basic thing that one needs to understand as a student of economy. So please make a heading: difference between central bank and commercial bank. Difference between central bank and commercial bank. Okay, you have time, 30 seconds. Let me tell you. Let me see how many of you will be able to tell me the difference between a central bank, like, no, do not write anything. I'll dictate these things. I would want everyone to give time and tell me what do you think is the difference between a central bank like RBI and a commercial bank like SBI or say ICICI Bank. Take your time, 30 seconds. Let me see how many differences you'll be able to think of. Yes, Swarnim, write both. Anil, we'll start with you. They're not managed by the government. They have complete independence and autonomy. They're not managed by the government. Varun? Okay, I as a person, we as people, if you want to take loan or accept, give deposits, we'll go to commercial bank. Will not go to central bank. Good, Varun? RBI helps in management of forex reserves, custodian of forex reserves. Okay, good. Then, both are working at national level only, na? Huh, Parth? That same thing as mentioned, na? Huh, Vaishali? RBI prints money, but banks circulate money. They don't print money. Banks are involved in distribution of money. Soumya? Think, socho. There's so many differences actually. Huh. Huh. But everyone is saying the same point. No, that is Varun's point. You cannot take away his point. You have to have your own point. Huh, Hemant? I think he has a good point. What Hemant is trying to say is RBI or central bank is generally set up as a statutory body. Statutory body means it is set up under a law of the parliament. Hmm. हाँ, good. Central bank का main objective क्या है? Inflation control. Commercial bank mainly focuses on profit, earning profit, right? Huh? They don't regulate it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. RBI's role is not profit making. RBI does not focus on earning profit. Okay. What you can do, make a table. This side, you have criteria. Next, you have central bank. And then you have the commercial bank. Let's see what exactly are the differences. When we see criteria may first is meaning. Meaning a central bank is like a apex bank. When I say apex bank means this bank sits at the top. Commercial bank, all the commercial bank, they function under the central bank. Like if any commercial bank wants to start its operations, compulsorily they need to take the permission or approval from the central bank. If you see establishment, how are this established? Central bank is usually established as a statutory body. Statutory means they are set up through a act. Like RBI in India has been set up under an act. RBI Act 1934. Okay. So, like RBI has been set up under an act called as 1934. Whereas commercial bank, they are established as companies under the Companies Act. If you see ownership, who owns the central bank? Central bank is generally owned by the government. What about commercial bank? They could be both. Both government owned and private owned. Like State Bank of India is a government owned bank. ICICI is a private bank. Objective of central bank. Objective of central bank is basically price stability. When I say price stability, means the basic objective of central bank is to control inflation. But how it controls inflation, that we'll study in the chapter of inflation chapter separate. Don't worry about it. Just know that main role of central bank is controlling inflation, whereas commercial bank का main objective होता है profit maximization. Printing notes, central bank, yes, only central bank can print notes. Commercial bank, no, they can't print notes, but involved in distribution of notes. Clear? Okay. If you see the role of central bank acts like a banker to the government. When you say banker to the government, means whenever government has surplus money, government will deposit the surplus money with the central bank. Whenever government wants to take loans, from where will the government take loans? From the central bank. But commercial, it acts the banker to the government as well as banker to the banks. It acts as banker to government and banker to banks, and commercial bank will act as a banker to whom? Banker to the public. Huh? Banker to banker? हाँ, but banker generally commercial banks major role ही होता है to act as banker to the public. Okay, they act as banker to public. For us, if you want to go and deposit money, we'll deposit in a commercial bank. If you want to take loan, we'll take loan from a commercial bank. Okay. Apart from that, You can write the next one, relationship with credit, right? Relationship with credit. Credit in the bracket, right? Loan. Okay. There under the central bank, right? Controls the credit creation. Controls credit creation. That is, controls credit creation. That is, the total amount of loans. That is, total amount of loans to be given by the banks. That is, total amount of loans to be given by the banks. So let's say you are bank and I am RBI. How much loans should you give? Should you give more loans or should you give less loans? Who is determining that? RBI. Like, I can force you to give more loans or I can force you to give less loans. Ultimately, it is RBI. So have you seen this puppet show? Sting puppet का show देखा होगा आपने? So you must have seen on the screen, you see the puppets dancing, but ultimately they are controlled by a puppeteer. So you could say that RBI is like that puppeteer and the puppets are like banks because it is controlled ultimately by the RBI. How it does? Monetary policy. Commercial bank, right? Involved in giving loans. Involved in giving loans. Next, examples. Next criteria, examples. Which was the world's first ever central bank? Which was the world's first ever central bank? Anyone? Okay, right? Sweden's Riksbank. Sweden's Riksbank, Riksbank. Sweden's Riksbank was the world's first central bank. Other examples of central bank, you could write Bank of England. Bank of England. US Federal Reserve. US Federal Reserve. All of these are the examples of central banks. Okay. So US Federal Reserve, in short, we also call it as Fed Bank. Commercial bank, you can write examples like SBI, ICICI, HDFC, Yes Bank. So all of these are examples of commercial banks. Swarnim, what is this number? Swarnim has typed some number. I don't know what is that number stands for. Okay, anyways. Next, we are done with the basics. Just take your time. Just look at that table, everyone. Can? For the people? No. No, generally it is always different from commercial bank. In all the countries, will always have a central bank, which will be having a different role as compared to a commercial bank. Look at the table. Do we have any doubt from the table? Okay, you have mentioned that heading, na? Difference between central bank and commercial bank. Bracket में लिखना वहाँ पे. Not important. Because I don't want you guys to spend some time on it. Whatever time I have spent, 10 minutes, that is more than sufficient. Because UPSC is never going to ask you the difference. Understand that. It is just for your understanding. Because in 1 or 2 classes, I had discussed the chapter of RBI. Entire RBI was completed. After that, one guy came to me and asked me, so what is the difference between RBI and SBI? That is when I realized that probably the first topic I should have taught is difference between RBI and SBI. So it's a basic thing that one needs to know. Now we are getting into the first part. You could see the list of topics. What's the first part? Yes? Evolution. Evolution of RBI. So please write evolution of RBI. Okay. With respect to evolution of RBI, I'm going to discuss this in the form of a chronology from a historical perspective. Like RBI was established in 1935. But we will see what actually happened before 1935, which led to the establishment of RBI. Okay. So, write down. First thing, 1770s. 1770s. 1770s, put hyphen and write. Bank of Hindustan was established as a private bank. Bank of Hindustan was established as a private bank and it started printing notes. It was considered to be significant, right? It was considered to be significant since paper-based notes were introduced on a large scale. Underline the word large scale. Since paper-based notes were introduced on a large scale for the first time. Okay, please read this. In 1770, we had a bank called as Bank of Hindustan. The name Hindustan is a misnomer because there was nothing Hindustani about it. Even though we call it as Bank of Hindustan, it was actually owned mostly by the traders of the East India Company. But this bank started printing notes on a large scale in India. If you go back to 1770s, that time money for us meant the coins. If you see in ancient India, we had started minting coins. Like you must have heard about Gupta Empire and all of this. In fact, we started minting gold coins as well. But paper-based notes on a large scale was started by Bank of Hindustan. What was very strange about this is, generally when you see printing notes, it is done by a central bank, which is owned by the government. But who was printing notes here? A private bank was printing notes. That was very strange in India. That was in 1770s. Uske baad, I'll dictate this, just pay attention. In 1806, Presidency Bank was established at Kolkata. You know, British had 3 major presidencies. One was Kolkata and the other 2 were. This Presidency Bank was followed by setting up of Presidency Bank at Madras and Bombay. These 3 Presidency banks were semi-government owned presidency banks. When I say semi-government owned, means government did not have the majority stake. Government had some partial stakes on that. Even these presidency banks also started printing notes. Now, what was very strange point? Number 1, Who generally prints notes? Central bank prints notes. And who owns the central bank? Government. What is this? Once again, a private entity, semi-government owned. Second, if you have a 100 rupee note in India, that 100 rupee note, you can use it in the northernmost part of India, southernmost part, eastern part, and western part. It is universal. But can you see, used to have notes printed by Presidency Bank at Kolkata, which were accepted only in which presidency? Bengal Presidency. If you have a note issued by Presidency Bank of Madras, these notes were accepted only in Madras Presidency. So we did not have something like one nation, one currency that time. That was in 1806. Later, in 1861, if you go back to ancient history, if one king acquires another kingdom, how will the new king assert his power over the newly acquired kingdom? How will he show that I am in the control of the new territory? He will mint the coins with his own image. That is how you prove that you have acquired the kingdom. Something dramatic happened in India around this time. Because you have completed history, what happened in India around this time? 1857 revolt took place. You must have studied. Revolt of 1857. अभी तक नहीं है? अच्छा, but स्कूल में तो पढ़ा होगा. चलो ठीक है. Revolt of 1857 was a jolt to the mighty British Empire. Its roots were shaken to the core because of the 1857 revolt. So obviously British wanted to show who is in the control of the Indian territory. So what they did, they passed an act called as Paper Currency Act of 1861. This act gave monopoly to the British government for printing notes. When I say monopoly means who can print notes? Only the British government. All of these entities who were printing notes, they stopped printing. And for printing notes, British set up a separate organization called as Controller General of Currency. A separate entity was set up whose role was only to print the notes. That was in the which year? 1861. In 1921, the three presidency banks, I told you three presidency banks, Kolkata, Madras and Bombay. These three presidency banks, they got merged to form a bank called as Imperial Bank of India. This particular bank, right, Imperial Bank of India, it was acting like a banker to the government. I told you one of the role of central bank is to act like a banker. As a banker, what was this bank doing? It was accepting deposit from the British government and giving loans to the British government. This Controller General of Currency was involved in printing of notes. Central bank has two important roles. One is to print notes and the other one is to act like a banker. But can you see in 1921, these two roles was performed by two separate entities. Then what happened? In 1924, there was a committee appointed by the British, which is called as Hilton Young Committee. This committee was appointed by the British government. By now, that is 1924, other countries already had set up their central banks. Which was the world's first ever central bank? Sweden's ka Riksbank. Then in US, they had already set up Fed Bank. In England, they had already set up Bank of England. So British thought, if other countries can have their own central bank, why can't there be a central bank for India? For that, they appointed this committee, Hilton Young Committee. When this committee was deliberating, right, there was one Indian economist. Even though he was not part of this committee, this Indian economist gave some recommendations which laid the foundation for RBI. What is his name? Some Indian economist. Dadabhai Naoroji, I'm talking about 1924. Some Indian economist. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. You know him as the founding father of our Indian Constitution, but he was also the one who presented a paper before the Hilton Young Committee. The name of the thesis, the paper was The Problem of Indian Rupee. So based upon the inputs provided by him, Hilton Young Committee gave its recommendation, which ultimately led to the establishment of Reserve Bank of India. The Hilton Young Committee recommended, number one, that we must set up RBI. And this RBI should be set up as a statutory body. I told you what is statutory. It should be set up through an act of the parliament. That is first recommendation. Second recommendation was RBI should be set up as a private shareholders bank. Look at this. Just look at the table that I have dictated on difference between commercial bank and central bank. In the table, just look at the ownership. Central bank का ownership किसके पास होता है? Government. But what did Hilton Young Committee say? RBI should not be set up as a government-owned bank. It should be set up as a private shareholders bank. What is the meaning of private shareholder? RBI should issue shares to the public. Whoever purchases the shares of RBI, they will become owners of the RBI. This is how RBI should be set up. So who will provide the capital for the setting up of RBI? Not the British. Rather, the capital will be provided by the people, shareholders themselves. And it said that minimum capital, how much capital the RBI should have, it said RBI should have a capital of rupees 5 crores. You might think it is too less, but we are talking about which year? 1924. 5 crores is a very big amount that time. Clear with that? So what do you find strange in the recommendations of Hilton Young Committee? The most strangest recommendation that you would ever find is RBI to be established not as a government-owned bank, but rather as a private bank, shareholders bank. This recommendation was given in 1924, but the British took almost 10 years. In 1934, they passed an act called as RBI Act 1934. And this act established RBI based upon the recommendations of Hilton Young Committee once again. They followed the recommendations of Hilton Young Committee in both letter and spirit. What is the capital of RBI when it was set up? 5 crores. It was set up not as a government-owned bank, it was set up as a private bank, shareholders bank. That was in 1934. But it was on April 1st, 1935 that RBI was ultimately established. Varun, what is so special about April 1st? April 1st is the year when the financial year starts. So because RBI Act 1934 was passed in 1934, we had to wait for the financial year to start, April 1st, 1935. So it was established in 1935, but Act was passed in which year? 1934. Samay? When India gained independence, 1947, RBI surprisingly, even after India's independence, was still a private bank only. This is a private bank. This is very strange that India, such a big country, had RBI, which was a private bank, even when we gained independence. And another important thing, from 1947 to 1948, India got partitioned into India and Pakistan. But RBI was acting like a central bank even for Pakistan also. Because Pakistan did not had its own central bank until 1948. So it was acting like the central bank for Pakistan. It was only on Jan 1st, 1949, much later, that RBI was, look at this, nationalized. What's the meaning of nationalized? Government took over the ownership of RBI. Nationalization is just the opposite of privatization. Privatization में क्या होता है? You have a government-owned entity. That government-owned entity is taken over by the private sector. An example of that would be Lucknow Airport. It is not a privatization. It is a PPP, public-private partnership. The ownership is with the government only. Best example of that is Air India. Like Air India owned by the government, now it has been owned by Tata. So Air India is an example of privatization. Nationalization means you have a private owned entity. This private owned entity is taken over by the government. Nationalization. Samaya? Okay. Okay, so this is the brief timeline about the RBI. What do you think happened to Imperial Bank of India? कहाँ गायब हो गया ये बैंक? No, it did not become RBI. Anil, what happened to Imperial Bank of India? No. Imperial Bank of India was formed in 1921. Na? What happened to this bank? After 1921, we have not heard of this bank anytime. You can write down now. Okay. So write down the evolution of RBI. I think the first point I have already dictated, 1770s. Next point, 1806. Next point, 1806. Put hyphen and write. Presidency Bank was set up at Kolkata. Presidency Bank was set up at Kolkata. Followed by Presidency Banks. Followed by Presidency Banks at Madras and Bombay. Full stop. These semi-government owned presidency banks, started printing notes. These semi-government owned presidency banks started printing notes. Then next, right, 1861. Put hyphen and write. Paper Currency Act 1861 was passed. Paper Currency Act 1861 was passed to give the British government the monopoly to give the British government the monopoly to print notes. To give the British government the monopoly to print notes. Full stop. Controller General of Currency. Controller General of Currency was set up as a nodal agency for printing notes. ठीक है. Next, 1921. Put hyphen and write. Merger of three presidency banks to form Imperial Bank of India. Merger of three presidency banks to form Imperial Bank of India. Full stop. This bank acted as banker to the government. This bank acted as a banker to the government. Next, right? 1924. Hilton Young Committee in the bracket Royal Commission on Currency and Finance. Royal Commission on Currency and Finance was established. Full stop. This committee gave the following recommendation. This committee gave the following recommendations. Right? The first one, RBI should be established as a statutory body. RBI to be established as a statutory body. Second, RBI should be set up as a private shareholders bank. Third, it should have minimum capital of rupees 5 crores. It should have minimum capital of rupees 5 crores. 5 crores. Next one, 1934. RBI Act 1934 was passed. 1934, RBI Act 1934 was passed. Next, April 1st, 1935. April 1st, 1935. RBI was established. Next, 1947 to 1948. RBI acted as central bank for both India and Pakistan. RBI acted as central bank for both India and Pakistan. Next, Jan 1st, 1949. RBI was nationalized. RBI was nationalized. That is, government took over the ownership of RBI. Took over the ownership of RBI. Last one, 1955. Imperial Bank of India. Imperial Bank of India was nationalized. Was nationalized. Okay. Imperial Bank of India was nationalized to form SBI. To form SBI through SBI Act 1955. Through SBI Act 1955. Okay, we'll have to wait for another 5 more minutes. आज तो ब्रेक पे ब्रेक बन रहा है आप लोगों का. हाँ भरत. हाँ. मिनिमम कैपिटल मीन्स हाउ मच शुड बी द मिनिमम मनी विद द आरबीआई. जब आरबीआई जब स्टार्ट करना है तो आरबीआई के पास कितना पैसा होना चाहिए टू बिगिन विथ. मिनिमम कैपिटल मीन्स कितना पैसा होना चाहिए. कितना पैसा था आरबीआई के पास? 5 करोड़. दैट इज व्हाट इज मिनिमम कैपिटल. जो शेयर होल्डर्स ने खरीदा था उनको अपना कंपनसेशन मिल गया. तो जितना भी लोगों ने खरीदा था शेयर, वो गवर्नमेंट ने खरीद लिया उनका शेयर एंड गवर्नमेंट ने उन लोगों को कंपनसेशन दे दिया. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll take up some practice questions from what we have covered so far. Just take your time. एक बार पूरा पढ़ लेना. Evolution of RBI. We'll take up some practice questions. Bank of Hindustan got closed down. It was not very successful. Within 10 to 15 years, it closed down its business. हाँ. गवर्नमेंट. हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल. तब तो इंडियन गवर्नमेंट तो था ही नहीं ना. Harshik, the issue has got resolved now. Okay. Huh? Pakistan, they set up its own central bank later, 1948 में. So when Pakistan set up its own central bank, RBI stopped acting like a central bank for Pakistan. No. They not demand for RBI to be their central bank because RBI was set up for India. So Pakistan decided to have its own central bank. Okay. Okay, just have a look at this. This is what is the share of RBI when it was established. Can you see this share? This says capital of rupees 5 crores. The total capital of RBI was 5 crores divided into shares of, how much is it? 100 rupees. Imagine in 1935, if you had 100 rupees and if you have purchased the shares of RBI, you could say very openly that I am the owner of the RBI. That was in 1935. And this was same until 1949. So when government took over the ownership of the RBI, to all those people who own the shares, government paid them the money. If someone had bought one share of RBI, it means how much money they given to RBI? 100 rupees. Government gave them that 100 rupees and government took their share. Okay. Practice MCQ number 1. Take your time. Swarnim, 1955, I mentioned that Imperial Bank of India was nationalized to become the State Bank of India. Yes, Ashu? Answer is 2 only? Varun? Shiva? Okay, how many of you think answer is both 1 and 2? Anyone? No one? Anil? What's the answer? Answer is B. Why, Varun? Why answer is D? So how much was the capital? So that's what I said. Doesn't matter. Share capital means total amount of money. Total capital. Total capital was 5 crores. That I said, right? So the total share capital of RBI was equal to 5 crores. And if you see the first one, RBI was set up as a government-owned central bank. Was it a government-owned central bank or private bank? Private shareholders bank. That is why the first statement is wrong. Next question. Parth? Option? Vaishali? Option is D. So, RBI was initially set up as non-statutory body. It was set up as what? Statutory body. I dictated this. RBI's focus is on price stability, inflation. It says that RBI should focus only on growth and development. That is why this one is wrong. So answer is neither 1 nor 2. Then it is right. If it says RBI focuses on promotion of growth, it is right. Because by controlling inflation, you can promote growth as well. Because the word solely is mentioned, it makes the entire statement wrong. So right after this, objectives of RBI. Objectives of RBI. We are done with the evolution. Second one is objectives of RBI. And right under the objectives, the objective of the RBI is to maintain price stability. The objective of the RBI is to maintain price stability while keeping in mind the objective of the RBI is to maintain price stability while keeping in mind the objective of growth. While keeping in mind the objective of growth. Please read the statement. It says the objective of the RBI is price stability while keeping in mind the objective of growth. It means RBI has two goals. One is price stability, other one is to promote growth. But between these two, which is the primary goal of the RBI? Price stability. Samaya, everyone, let me just show you a question. Prelims 2022. In India, which one of the following is responsible for maintaining price stability by controlling inflation? Can I say that almost everyone to a certain extent is involved in controlling inflation? Everyone. But out of these four, किसका primary role है inflation? RBI. So that is why the answer is Reserve Bank of India. You need to choose the most appropriate answer, and the most appropriate one is RBI. Next, I can write accounting year of the RBI. Accounting year of the RBI. Next one. Okay. Just pay attention. Before 2019, if you see, RBI's accounting year used to start from July 1st and it used to end on June 30th. But for the government, when we say accounting year or financial year, it always starts from April 1st and ends on March 31st. This was before 2019. But what we have done after 2019, now the accounting year of the RBI and the government, they have got aligned. They are same now. So for the RBI, now the accounting year, just like for the government, starts from April 1st and ends on March 31st. This change in the accounting year has been adopted by RBI on the recommendations of a committee called as Bimal Jalan Committee. These committees are quite important for your prelims examination. So just remember the name of the committee. Which committee recommended establishment of RBI? Hilton Young Committee. This committee recommended that RBI should change its accounting year from July to April 1st. So please take this down. I hope it is self-explanatory. Everyone? Bimal Jalan. Bimal Jalan. Bimal Jalan. Next. Acts governing functioning of RBI. Acts governing functioning of RBI. So sometimes in UPSC prelims, you may get a question like this: which among the following acts govern the functioning of RBI? So write the first one, RBI Act 1934. I think that is self-explanatory because it has established RBI. Second act, Banking Regulation Act 1949. Banking Regulation Act 1949. Put a hyphen and write. Empowers the RBI to act as regulator of the banks. Empowers RBI to act as regulator of the banks. So you know RBI regulates the banks, no? Under which law does the RBI regulate the banks? Banking Regulation Act 1949. Third, Government Securities Act 2006. Government Securities Act 2006. Put a hyphen and write. Empowers RBI to act as debt manager to the government. Empowers RBI to act as debt manager to the government. What do you mean by debt manager? Debt manager basically means managing the borrowings of the government. So in the bracket you can write manage the borrowings of the government. So under Government Securities Act, RBI is empowered to manage the government borrowings. ठीक है? Next. Payment and Settlement Act 2007. Payment and Settlement Act 2007. Okay, just pay attention. If I want to make payment to you, let's say I purchase something from you and I'm wanting to make you payment. What are the different forms of payment in India? Yes, what are the different forms by which I can make you payment? One, I can use payment through cash. I can make payment through check. I can make payment through DD, demand draft. And now I can also make payment through UPI. In a mobile app, if you want to transfer money, there are some systems, right? What is that systems? UPI के अलावा, if you want to transfer money from one account to another account, there are some systems used. हाँ, net banking में क्या क्या options आते हैं? You must have heard about this option, ना? RTGS. Yes, NEFT or IMPS. These are the systems that you use to transfer money from one account to another account. Similarly, in India, you have number of apps through which you can make payment. Example of those apps are your Phone Pay, Google Pay, or if you've seen in the recent days, in your WhatsApp, there is a new feature which is added called as WhatsApp Pay. Apart from all of this, you also have prepaid payment instruments. Look at the word prepaid payment instrument. Payment instrument means this is an instrument that you can use it to make payment. But this payment instrument is prepaid. You have your prepaid SIM now. Prepaid SIM you recharge at the start of the month. You use entire month. The SIM का जो talk time है वो खत्म हो जाएगा. Then you recharge your SIM once again. It is prepaid SIM. Same like that, there are certain payment instrument into which you first have to load money. Once you load money, then only you can use this particular payment instrument to make a payment. Best example is your metro card. You recharge your metro card, you load money, and once the money is loaded into metro card, you can simply swipe the metro card at the metro gate and the gate opens. So metro card is an example of prepaid payment instrument. Amazon Pay Balance. सुना है Amazon Pay balance? Or let's say your Paytm wallet, Ola Money. What are they? All of these are examples of prepaid payment instruments. This entire ecosystem, we call them as payment and settlement system. Who regulates the payment and settlement system? RBI. We have a separate chapter called as payment and settlement system. We'll be discussing that in detail. I just want you guys to get a head start on this. So put a hyphen and write, empowers the RBI to regulate payment and settlement system, to regulate the payment and settlement system, such as, to regulate the payment and settlement system such as cash, check, UPI, RTGS, NEFT, etc. Last one, Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. In the bracket write FEMA. FEMA, FEMA. Put hyphen and write, empowers the RBI 1999. Empowers the RBI to regulate the exchange rate. Empowers the RBI to regulate the exchange rate. ठीक है? So all of these are the acts governing the functioning of RBI. So we are done with the main part, which is we discussed the evolution, we discussed the objectives, we discussed the accounting year, and finally the acts. Yeah, that clear? Chalo, we'll take a 5 minutes break. So once we come back, I'll start with the structure of RBI. Okay? Huh? It was earlier called as FERA. Now it has become FEMA. It was Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. It has now become Management Act. Okay. So next one you can write down. Structure of RBI. Structure of RBI. Structure of RBI. Okay. Under this, you can write down the Central Board of the RBI. The Central Board of the RBI exercises general superintendence and direction over RBI. Okay, so basically, whenever we say RBI, in RBI, someone should be making all the major decisions. All the major decisions within the RBI, they are taken by a board. It is called as Central Board of RBI. This board is set up under the RBI Act 1934. In the Act itself, this board has been established. So right now, it has been established under RBI Act 1934. Okay, now just pay attention now. Whatever I'm going to discuss for the next, let's say, half an hour, it's all about the Central Board of RBI. Where we'll discuss what is the Central Board, how does it make decisions, how many members it has, all of those things we'll be covering. Why it becomes important is because of this question which was asked in prelims 2021. Can you see here? This is a question. This question was asked in the backdrop of resignation of RBI Governor Mr. Urjit Patel. But this question is both static as well as current affairs. So, when we say Central Board of RBI, this Central Board of RBI has maximum of 21 members. Maximum कितने होंगे? 21 members maximum. So it can be less than 21, but it cannot exceed 21. These 21 members, they are categorized into two types. One, we call them as official directors. Second one, we call them as non-official directors. When we say official directors will include one, RBI governor, and there will be four, maximum of four deputy governors. Basically, they will assist the RBI governor. So that way, if you see, out of 21 members, how many are official directors? 5. The remaining members will be called as non-official. Let's see who are those non-official members. Any idea where is the main headquarters of RBI located? Which place? Delhi ka regional headquarter hai. We have a headquarter near the Parliament House actually, but that is a regional headquarter. Main headquarter of RBI, initially it was at Kolkata, but later it got shifted to Mumbai. It has main headquarter at Mumbai. Because RBI is doing a lot of diverse work across India, RBI also has regional headquarters, which RBI calls as local headquarters. Like there's one in north, one in south, east and west. North ka headquarter Delhi, south ka headquarter Chennai, west ka headquarter Mumbai once again, east ka headquarter Kolkata. So how many regional headquarters? 4. All of these regional headquarters will also have some officials. One official from each of these regional headquarters. I repeat, one official from each of these regional headquarters. कितने regional headquarters हैं? 4 है. So how many members will be? 4. So there will be 4 members from local headquarters. Though we call them as regional, RBI calls it as local. There will be 4 members. Apart from that, there will be 10 independent directors. These directors, they are nominated by the government. Basically, people who have the expertise in banking, finance, those people will get nominated as independent directors. So they are representing whom? They are representing the government. Apart from that, there will be 2 ex officio government officials. When you see ex officio, it means that a person is a member by virtue of the position the person holds. 2 government officials. And they're not random government officials. These are the government officials who are holding some position. What position? There is one secretary. Secretary, Department of Economic Affairs. You know budget, right? Budget is formulated by Ministry of Finance. But within the Ministry of Finance, who actually formulates budget? Department of Economic Affairs. So whoever is the secretary of that particular department, he will also get a representation on the central board. Then there will be secretary, Department of Financial Services, IS officer. So can you see? 5 people are this side. 4 plus 10, 14. 14 plus 2. Total is 16. 16 plus 5 is 21. This is the composition of the Central Board of RBI. समझ में आया सबको? Have you heard of something called as tenure? Tenure means if a person is appointed, for how many years such a person will be in a particular post. That is what is tenure. What do you think is the tenure of the RBI governor in India? 6 years. What's the tenure of RBI governor? Once you appoint someone as RBI governor, for how long can he stay as RBI governor? For official directors, the maximum tenure is 5 years. Look at the word which I mentioned. What did I mention? Maximum tenure. Once you appoint someone, that person will be RBI governor or deputy governor for maximum of 5 years at once. But when it's see for non-official directors, the maximum tenure is 4 years. All of these people, they will serve as members of Central Board of RBI only for 4 years. समझ में आया everyone? Okay? Apart from that, generally, what happens is if a person is appointed as RBI governor, generally, the law says that maximum tenure is 5 years. This is what the law says. Generally, government does not appoint a person for 5 years at a stretch. Never. You know what government does? Initially, government will appoint a person for initial 3 years. Initially, he or she will be appointed for 3 years. Based upon their performance, if the performance is good, they'll get an extension. कितने साल का extension? 2 years. They are not appointed for 5 years at a stretch, generally. That's a convention. Who is the present RBI governor? This is something that you should know now. Who is the present RBI governor? Huh? You're saying something? Huh? But you have seen his image. Sanjay Malhotra. He is the present RBI governor. Before him, Mr. Shaktikanta Das. Sanjay Malhotra, right now, he has been appointed for 3 years. Based upon his performance, he will be given an extension of another 2 more years. That's a convention. In case of Shaktikanta Das, it was different. Shaktikanta Das got appointed for 3 years. He completed his tenure of 3 years. After 3 years, government should have given him extension for 2 more years. Na? You know what the government did? Instead of giving him extension for 2 more years, government decided to reappoint Shaktikanta Das. And when he was reappointed, for how many years was he reappointed? Another 3 years. 3 plus 3, kitna ho gaya? 6 years. So are the RBI governors eligible for reappointment? Yes, they are eligible for reappointment. But in one single tenure, how many years they can serve maximum? 5 years. So what is the maximum tenure of the, what's the maximum number of times the RBI governor can be reappointed? No limit. You can appoint him for 5 years at a stretch. Once the tenure ends, he can be reappointed once again. समझ में आया सबको? Is everyone clear with this? Okay. Apart from that, how is RBI governor and deputy governor appointed? Let's understand that also. I'll declare these points, not worry. How is RBI governor and deputy governor appointed? And this is very interesting. Generally, whenever the office of the governor and deputy governor is going to fall vacant, right? The government will invite applications from the people who would want to become the RBI governor or deputy governor. Any idea what is the qualification to become RBI governor? What should be the qualification? Socho. He should be an expert in the field of banking, or he should have some minimum age. Like we have a minimum age for someone to become an MP, someone to become a MLA. We have a minimum age to cast vote also, right? There's some age criteria. Surprise. There is no qualification to become the RBI governor. In the Act, there is no qualification for becoming a RBI governor. Does it mean any random person who has passed class 10th will become RBI governor? No, na. No qualifications are laid down in the Act. But obviously government will choose the best person available. So government will invite applications from the people who would want to become the RBI governor. And because the post of RBI governor is considered to be very high profile. Imagine for something like IAS, UPSC, you get so many applications. Imagine the number of applications government would receive for RBI governor. And you must understand that people may not know who is the Cabinet Secretary of India. Cabinet Secretary is the senior most IAS officer in the country. People may not know who is the Cabinet Secretary, but people will know who is the RBI governor. Getting this point? So I happened to speak to one of the RBI governor, Mr. Subbarao, once. So there was a student of mine. So the student asked Subbarao to narrate an incident from his life. Subbarao was one of the RBI governor from Andhra Pradesh. He was an IAS officer. So he said a very interesting incident from his life. Like he went to a school. He went to a school in Andhra Pradesh. He is talking to school kids, primary school. Someone who's studying in class first or second. Imagine how will you introduce the RBI governor to the school students. He said, I am the one who puts the signature on your notes. That is when the student sitting in his class understood his importance. Imagine if he had gone and said, I am the RBI governor, people would have not understood that thing. So that is the power of the RBI governor. So obviously, when government is inviting applications, a lot of people will apply it. So what the government has done, government has set up a committee, Financial Sector Regulatory Appointment Search Committee. The name is pretty long. Financial Sector Regulatory Appointment Search Committee. This committee is headed by the senior most IAS officer in the country, that is Cabinet Secretary. This committee is headed by Cabinet Secretary. They will get all the applications. This committee will scrutinize all the applications. After scrutinizing applications, if needed, it will call some candidates for face-to-face interview as well. Then this committee will shortlist candidates. When I say shortlist candidates means, let's say, it will forward or it will pinpoint 3 names, 2 to 3 names of people who are worthy to become the RBI governor. This name, these 3 names, is then sent to the government, central government. Within the central government, for all the high profile appointments like CAG or Election Commission of India, all the high profile appointment, there is one cabinet committee. Have you heard of cabinet committee? Like we have cabinet committee on parliamentary affairs, cabinet committee on economic affairs. Same like that, within the government, there is a cabinet committee on appointments. So finally, who will approve the name? Government. But who will recommend the name? The committee. Financial Sector Regulatory Appointment Search Committee. For how long they can be appointed for? Maximum, how long? 5 years. For one term, it is maximum 5 years. But what is the convention? Generally, they are appointed for 3 years. Based upon the performance, they'll get an extension for 2 years. But what happened in case of Shaktikanta Das? After completing his tenure of 3 years, he was reappointed. Yahan tak clear hai? So, if you see the previous RBI governors, right? Not everyone enjoyed a tenure of 5 years. Like if you see Mr. Raghuram Rajan, he was initially appointed for 3 years. And when he was RBI governor, constantly there was a tussle between him and the finance minister. So when 3 years completed, no extension. His tenure ended. Good thing was at least Raghuram Rajan completed his 3 years tenure. The next RBI governor, Mr. Urjit Patel, he did not even complete his tenure. He resigned midway. After that, Shaktikanta Das. 3 plus 3. Now, Mr. Sanjay Malhotra. Now, though it is 3 years, let's see what will happen after 3 years. Is that clear? Okay. There is one person who was RBI governor, who was finance minister, and who was Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh. He served as all the 3. Clear hai? Okay, please start writing now. All of these things, I know they are very factual, but yaad rakhna hi hai. Can't help. So, right? Composition. Composition. Right? Maximum 21 members. Maximum 21 members. Comprising of official directors and non-official directors. Maximum 21 members comprising of official and non-official directors. Next line. Official directors include RBI governor and 4 deputy governors. Official directors include RBI governor and 4 deputy governors. Next line. Non-official directors include 4 members from the regional / local headquarters. 4 members from regional / local headquarters. Next, 10 independent directors nominated by government. 10 independent directors nominated by government. Next, 2 ex officio government officials. Under that, right, Secretary, Department of Economic Affairs, Secretary, Department of Economic Affairs, Second, Secretary, Department of Financial Services. Okay. Next one, tenure. Next slide, tenure. Maximum tenure of official directors. Maximum tenure of official directors is 5 years. Is 5 years. Full stop. Usually they are appointed for initial 3 years. Usually they are appointed for initial 3 years and later given an extension of 2 more years. And later given extension of 2 more years. Next one. The maximum tenure of non-official directors is 4 years. The maximum tenure of non-official directors is 4 years. Next. After this, write note. Both official directors and non-official directors, are eligible for reappointment. Next. Appointment of RBI, next line. Appointment of RBI governor and deputy governor. Appointment of RBI governor and deputy governor. Under this you can write appointed by central government. Appointed by central government. In the bracket, Cabinet Committee on Appointments. Cabinet Committee on Appointments, bracket close, based upon the recommendations of financial sector, regulatory appointments search committee. Based upon the recommendations of Financial Sector Regulatory Appointment Search Committee, headed by Cabinet Secretary. Headed by Cabinet Secretary. Then write next one, meetings. Next write meetings. Central board should meet at least 6 times in a year. At least 6 times in a year. ठीक है? Qualifications, last but one, qualifications. Under that you can write no qualifications are laid down. No qualifications are laid down for governor and deputy governor. No qualifications are laid down for governor/deputy governor under the RBI Act. Under the RBI Act. ठीक है? Next, important committees under the central board. We are not done with it. Abhi bhi hai. Important committees under the central board. Okay. So under the central board of the RBI, there are some committees. Write down the first committee. Board for Financial Supervision. Board for Financial Supervision. This particular board for financial supervision will regulate all the banks in India. RBI is regulating banks. But within RBI, who is regulating the banks? The Board for Financial Supervision. This particular board is headed by the RBI governor. So RBI governor will head the central board also and the board for financial supervision. Then there is another board, Board for Regulation of Payment and Settlement System. I told you RBI regulates the payment and settlement system. But within RBI, who is regulating that? This particular board, right? What you should know about this is, number one, it regulates payment and settlement system in India. That's the first thing. Second thing is it is headed by RBI governor, same like Board for Financial Supervision. And third, and very important, is it is set up under Payment and Settlement Act of 2007. I told you about Payment and Settlement Act, right? So under that act, this board has been set up, not under the RBI Act 1934. Clear so far? Last one, important sections of RBI Act. No, first board is under RBI Act only. Okay. Next one, important sections of RBI Act. Important sections of RBI Act 1934. Under that, write Section 7. Section 7. Put a hyphen and write. Empowers the government to issue directions. Empowers the government to issue directions to RBI in matters of public interest. Empowers the government to issue directions to RBI in matters of public interest. Generally, RBI is independent. RBI is autonomous. Government cannot interfere in the functioning of RBI. But in certain extreme circumstances like public interest, government can issue directions to RBI. We'll discuss that when I take up about the resignation of Urjit Patel later. Don't worry about it. Next, right? Section 47. Section 47. Put a hyphen and write. Requires the RBI to transfer a part of its profits. Requires RBI to transfer a part of its profits to the government. To the government. RBI earns profit every year. How it earns profit? We'll be covering that part later. Whatever profit RBI earns, some part of its profit it has to transfer to the government. This is mentioned in the RBI Act 1934 itself. You have 1 minute. Please read all the things that I have discussed so far, right from the composition of Central Board of RBI. Hmm. Hmm. Let's see this question. 2021. The first statement says the governor of RBI is appointed by the central government. Yes, it is appointed. He is appointed by the central government. To be more specific, he is appointed by Cabinet Committee on Appointments. What do you think about the second statement? Ashu? Wrong, eh? Huh? Why? Why it is wrong? Second statement is actually wrong. You might think it is right, but it is actually wrong because it is not the constitution which empowers the government to issue directions. Which act empowers the government? RBI Act. This section was in news, understand. Section 7 was in news during the resignation of RBI Governor Mr. Urjit Patel. That is why this question was asked. So second statement is wrong because it is not mentioned in the constitution, it is mentioned in the RBI Act 1934. Because the second statement is wrong, go by elimination. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Answer is 193 only. Aditya, practice MCQ number 5. Only one? Which one, Aditya? 2 only. RBI governor is appointed for a period not exceeding 5 years. Is this right? It is right. First one is wrong because he is not appointed by president. He is appointed by the central government. RBI Act does not lay down any qualifications. Okay. Next practice MCQ. Anil. Consider following statements related to Board for Financial Supervision. The Board for Financial Supervision functions as a committee of Central Board of RBI. It is right. But who is heading this board? Cabinet Secretary? RBI Governor. Kahan Bharat? It is headed by the RBI Governor. Okay. Shiva? The board is completely independent and is devoid of any central government representative. Devoid means it says it does not has any central government representative. It is wrong. Who are the central government representatives? Ex-officio government officials, Secretary, Department of Economic Affairs and Secretary, Department of Financial Services. All the members enjoy fixed tenure of 5 years. Official directors 5 years, non-official directors 4 years. Good. Soumya? The central government can issue directions to Central Board of RBI in matters of public interest, right? The Indian Constitution mandates RBI to transfer its dividend to the government every financial year. RBI should transfer the profit. That is what is called as dividend. But it is not mentioned in the Constitution. It is mentioned in the RBI Act 1934. Yeah, that clear? Okay. Next, write down. Role of RBI. So we are done with the first part. That is evolution of RBI, objectives, structure, those part we have done. Now we are going into the role of RBI. We discussed now non-official directors, 4 members from the regional headquarters. Central board of RBI will nominate 1 person from every regional board. They are appointed by the government. Okay. Just see the role of RBI. Can you quickly take down this diagram, role of RBI? Then I'll start discussing this. Was yesterday's PPT uploaded on the portal? It was not? Okay, fine. You have a number, right? Agar it is not uploaded, just drop me a message. Fine. Let's start with the first one. That is issue of bank notes. So, right. Role of RBI in issuing bank notes. Role of RBI in issuing bank notes. Okay. Okay, just pay attention now. I'll dictate all of these things. Normally in India, you come across notes of different denomination. What are the different denomination of notes that you come across in India? Right now, you have 10 rupee notes, right? You have 20 rupee note, 50, 100, 200, and now we have maximum 500. 2000 rupee note has gone out of circulation. When you see these notes now, in layman's language, all these notes we call them as currency notes in layman language. But legally speaking, they are not currency notes, legally speaking, as per the law. Legally speaking, these notes are actually called as bank notes. क्या बोलते हैं उसे? बैंक नोट्स, बैंक नोट्स. In other words, if you find any note in India which you think is printed by RBI, that note we call them as bank note. Did you get the point? Have you ever seen a 1 rupee note? किसी के पास है अभी क्लास में? हाँ. Show it to me, Heman. So if you see 1 rupee note, है? Okay. Okay. Thank you. If you see this 1 rupee note, na, this 1 rupee note is not issued by RBI. This 1 rupee note is issued by the government. And if you see the signature here, you don't have the signature of RBI governor. It has a signature of finance secretary, not even the finance minister. It is the finance secretary who happens to be an IS officer. So if you want your name to be on a note in India, you have two possibilities. Become RBI governor or you become a finance secretary. But becoming RBI governor is more powerful because if you become finance secretary, you can put your signature on only 1 rupee note, which obviously no one cares. But putting signature on 500 rupee note is very high profile, right? 1 rupee note, because it is printed by the government, we don't call it as bank note. I hope you understood. We don't even call it as currency also. 1 rupee note is same as 1 rupee coin, legally speaking. Legally speaking, we call it as what? 1 rupee coin. So when we say note, note means it's a note which is printed by who? RBI. So that's what I mentioned. Role of RBI in printing what? Bank notes. Clear as sabko? So please write down. Bank notes are the notes printed by the Reserve Bank of India. Bank notes are the notes printed by RBI. Full stop. 1 rupee note is printed by the government. 1 rupee note is printed by the government and hence not considered as 1 rupee note is printed by the government and hence not considered as bank note. Thus, RBI has the sole authority. Thus, RBI has the sole authority in printing bank notes. Only RBI can print bank notes. Understand that. The logic is very simple. What is a bank note? Bank note is something which is printed by RBI. So only RBI can print the bank note. Just give me a. आपके पास बहुत सारा कैश दिख रहा है. एक बार दिखाइए कैश. Give me a 500 rupee note or whatever note you have. I'm very poor. I don't have any cash with me. Just give me a paper also. A piece of paper. Anyone has a piece of paper? Any paper would do. Some rough paper if you have. Any paper. हाँ थोड़ा सा फाड़ देना. हाँ he has. Okay. आशु पेन देना. Okay. Let's do a small exercise in the class. Let me see how many of you will be able to answer my question. Can I say this is paper? It is nothing but paper. Like if you burn it, don't burn it, but I'm just saying if you burn it, will you get anything? You won't get anything. Its intrinsic value, when I say intrinsic value, means inherent value is zero because it's just a paper any day. Can I say on this is a paper? This is a paper, this is a paper. On this paper, I am writing a 500 like this. Here also 500 is mentioned, here also 500 is mentioned. Here you have RBI governor's signature. यहाँ पे मैं अपना signature डाल रहा हूँ. I am putting my signature. यहाँ पे लिखा है I promise to pay the bearer the sum of 500 rupees. मैं भी लिख दूंगा यहाँ पे I promise to pay the bearer. I'm writing the same thing. I purchase something from you. I'm purchasing something from you. I will make you payment in this 500 rupee note. You will happily accept it. No questions asked. I am making payment to you in this paper. 500 रुपए का. Obviously, you will not accept it. Take your time. Give me a very, very logical reason. I want logical reason. Give me a logical reason. Why would you not accept this paper? You have 30 seconds. Take your time. Let me see who has the right answer to this question. Vaishali, I'll start with you only. Huh. Someone else. Okay. Let me first start with Vaishali. Okay? So what Vaishali says, when I asked her ki why would Vaishali not accept this, her response was that the paper is not a legal tender, right? Parth, you know what is legal tender? You know? Ashu? You know what is legal tender? Shiva? Shiva doesn't know what is legal tender. But if I'm making him payment, Shiva happy will accept this. Do you understand my logic? There are so many people in India. The rickshaw puller, auto rickshaw guy, the tea vendor, fruit vendor, vegetable vendor. While going back home, you ask them, भैया legal tender क्या है, पता है क्या? They'll ask, बैठो यहाँ पे समझाओ यहाँ पे, economics मुझे पढ़ा दो. Right? They'll say this. But will they happily accept this note or not? They don't know what is legal tender. Na? They don't know what is legal tender. Another logic which I can tell you. ₹10 coin. Just like note, we'll discuss what is legal tender later. But know that ₹10 coin is also a legal tender. In simplest word, we'll discuss about it, but in simple word, legal tender means something which are bound to accept it under the law. Under the law, if I am making you payment in terms of 500 rupee, you are bound to accept it. That is why it is called as legal tender. Understood, Shiva? If I am giving you 500 rupees now, government says you should accept this 500 rupee under the law, because of which we call this as legal tender. ₹10 coin is also legal tender. I have faced this problem multiple times. I am very sure you must have also faced this problem. You are paying ₹10 coin to a shopkeeper and they generally don't accept it. उनको भी पता है ना कि legal tender है. So that is not the reason. That's not the reason. There's something else. हाँ. I think Bharat was saying कि सर ये तो गलत बात हो गया. यहाँ पे आरबीआई का गवर्नर का सिग्नेचर है, यहाँ पे आपका सिग्नेचर है. चलो ठीक है. I'll go to Sanjay Malhotra's office and I'll ask him put your autograph here. Will that work, Bharat? हाँ, तो he is a RB governor ना, Sanjay Malhotra, he will put his signature. Then on the, so government is saying 10 rupee coin is also in my order na, but why people are not accepting 10 rupee coin? There's something else. Understand why are people accepting notes? Huh? You tell me. On this, the word "I promise to pay the bearer" is mentioned. What is the meaning of this promise? What is the meaning of this promise? Okay. Anyone else? Why do people accept note? Okay. No, no. Okay. How many of you have seen the movie called as Shawshank Redemption? You have seen? You also seen? Okay. There's a Oscar-winning movie called as Shawshank Redemption. This movie is about a prison break, a person who escapes the prison. It's a very gut-wrenching movie. That's why it has got the Oscar. But if you carefully look at the movie, in certain parts of the movie, though not explicitly, implicitly, it was shown that in prison, because there is shortage of money, because prisoners cannot carry enough amount of money in the prison, prisoners found an alternative to money. When I say alternative to money, means something which is, I would say, universally acceptable in prison. सबको चाहिए होगा वो. What do you think that could be in prison? In prison, when something is acceptable universally. Everyone is a criminal in prison. Because everyone is a criminal, they might be smokers. So what they found is they made cigarette as money itself. I'll show you how. Okay. In this movie, they used cigarette as a money because of its universal acceptance. How? Let's understand this. These are the 4 characters from the movie. Let's say this person is a smoker. This person says to this person, you wash my 10 clothes. For every 1 cloth that you wash, I will give you 1 cigarette. It's like saying for every 1 cloth that you wash, I will give you 1 rupee. Or for every 1 cloth that you wash, I will give you $1. But instead of giving rupee, instead of giving dollar, what was given? Cigarette was given. यहाँ तक clear है? Now, you might be thinking, so what is so great about it? ठीक है, that person is a smoker. He needs cigarettes to smoke. That is why he is doing his work and getting the cigarettes. Surprise? What is he? He doesn't even smoke also. But why is he happily accepting cigarettes? Because he knows if he accepts cigarette, using that cigarette he can purchase something else from another person. So what he can do, using those 10 cigarettes, he can purchase bread from another person. You might think, huh, ठीक है. What's so great? This person might need cigarettes. Surprise? Even this person is a non-smoker. Why will he still accept cigarettes? Because he knows using that cigarette he can purchase something from someone else. Using that 10 cigarette he is purchasing biscuit packet from this person. You might think, what's so great? This person might need cigarette. Surprise. Even this person is a non-smoker. Who actually needs cigarette to smoke? Only the first person. What is money after all? Money is what? Money आपको लगता है करेंसी नोट है, मनी आपको लगता है कॉइन है. मनी का डेफिनेशन इज मनी इज अ मीडियम ऑफ पेमेंट, medium of exchange. You purchase something, you're making payment for that using money. That is what is money. If you go back to ancient India, in ancient India, before coins, what is money? हाँ, barter के बाद कुछ तो money आया होगा. What is that money? उससे पहले seals. Before that, what is the earliest form of money in ancient India? Like in village, who was the most wealthiest person in the village? Yes, the most richest person in the village was the person who used to have the highest number of cattle. That's why we used to call Pashudhan. The wealthiest person of that time was a person who used to have, let's say, 100 cows or 100 buffaloes. Unfortunately, the wealth of that person depended upon the lifespan of the cows and buffaloes. You're getting that point? Because cows and buffaloes cannot live forever, na? So for how long the cows and buffaloes lived, that person was the wealthiest person. What is money then? Money was cattle. And यहाँ पे क्या हो गया? What was the money? It was cigarettes. So why do you accept this and not this? Simple reason. If you accept this, you have confidence that you can use this to make payment to others. I think that's the most easiest way to understand this, na? I can purchase something from Hemant by using this 500 rupee note. This 500 rupee note, he can use it to purchase something from Shiva. Shiva can purchase something from Anil. Anil can purchase something from Varun. But if Hemant accept this, ये कोई और एक्सेप्ट करेगा नहीं ना. But a day, if people lose interest in this currency, if people start believing in this currency, then what will happen? Even this can become a money. It's not really about legal tender. It's more about having trust. That is very important. Universal acceptance. Is that part clear? Okay. With this, I end my class. In Monday's class, I will be covering this topic of printing of bank notes. Okay. Thank you so much. So we'll meet on Monday. ठीक है? हाँ हेमंत, ये लेके क्या करोगे आप? इसका कोई यूज नहीं है.